Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. I'm Ryan Bolin. Thank you all for joining me. So, some of you might know about this, but there is a new movie coming out called Civil War, created by the indie studio A-24, which most of you probably know have produced some pretty good movies down through the years. I think one of them was Hereditary, which I have the privilege of watching. And I had heard about the hype about the film. That movie was, if you've seen Hereditary, you know what I mean. Yeah, that was a good one. And they've produced a couple of other great, what would be called art films. And this new movie supposedly to be coming out during this year, I think in April, the article says, is entitled Civil War, and is raising some very controversial commentary from both the left and the right. Many are accusing this movie of predictive programming and other things like that. But let's get right into this article, because this article brings out some things that are very interesting. And then I'm going to give you guys my commentary, because at the end of the day, it all comes down to something that basically at the end of the day, let me put it like this. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, I'm not going to say it until the end of the of the article, end of the commentary. But let's get right into this. This is pretty interesting. And I've seen the movie trailer for this, and I find it extremely interesting, okay? Indie studio A-24 is preparing an April release of its provocative film Civil War, and the movie is already provoking fierce debate from all sides of the political spectrum, even as details on its plot are still sparse, of course. The film's trailer was released in January and shows an America in chaos. Director Alex Garland imagines a situation where Texas and California team up to militarily face down the United States government, a concept that seems decidedly absurd in real life, since Texas and California are diametrically opposed politically. Meanwhile, another military force called the, quote, Florida Alliance pursues its own goals. And all the while, the U.S. president, who is in his third term, is that saying something? I don't know, arrests journalists, locks down Washington, D.C., and launches massive military strikes against American citizens. Is a dystopia film that shows that the American experiment coming to a bloody and violent end. And I just wanted to read some of this stuff here. Detractors of the film, both left and right, are pointing to Garland's fantasy flick as the perfect description of what their enemies are planning for this country. Liberals and MSNBC fans are claiming the film depicts what, quote, rednecks and, quote, MAGA voters want to do to the country, while those on the right are insisting that the film shows fascist, anti-American leftists in their true warmongering light. And this article goes on to talk about the different films that, different films like the 2019's Joker, which essentially was panned ahead of its release and accused of stoking real life violence, because this is the accusation from both the left and the right, that this new movie would stoke violence and so forth. But listen to this portion of the article. It says, but when it was released, referring to the Joker, when it was released, nothing happened. The hype, though, did propel the film to $1 billion box office take. So that's all I'm going to read right there for that article right there. It's pretty straightforward. You guys can read the rest of that article in the description box below and find out all the details for yourself. It's pretty straightforward type of information. This article basically is few days old. And I just came around. I kind of debated as to whether or not I wanted to do this article, because I kind of figured, well, is this would be of any interest? But in my heart, I knew it was going to be of interest for me personally, because of the fact that I myself am a writer and a creator. I write fiction, books, fiction, short stories, and I'm into developing a movie screenplay. I'm not going to give the details of that, but I write in all kinds of ways. My goal and objective is to sell this screenplay to a major movie studio, because it's probably, for the most part, it's going to take a major movie studio to produce this film, because the special effects are going to be off the chain, off the hook, and it will be a dystopia film, but it will focus on a particular family. So it'll be kind of character driven in a large sense. But I'm not going to go into the details of that. No. At any rate, Yeah, I can understand that both the left and the right would have these kind of comments about this film. And in fact, when I saw the movie trailer a few days ago, I asked myself the same thing. I said, man, what is this all about? What is the political ideology and worldview of the writer, the director, the producer? What is their political ideology? Are they conservative? Are they the left? Or are they independent? Taking both, I don't know. I don't know. As the article says, it has Texas and California teaming up against each other, which is interesting because, as the article goes on to say, Texas and California are diametrically opposed in terms of worldviews, political worldviews. Texas is Republican, conservative. California is communist. No, I'm just joking. Almost though, is liberal left. For them to join forces to come against, the government is interesting. Could that be saying that at the end of the day, I'm just saying that what the writer and producer of this film is trying to communicate to the viewing audiences when it comes out is that really this whole idea of the writer and the left is just a smokescreen. That the concept of the right and the left, Republicans and Democrats, is created to keep division, and that the real initiators of violence and destruction is the government, and that the ultimate purpose of the government is to create a one world global government, global religion, and global economic system by taking over completely everything that you and I consider to be dear to ourselves. But to keep us divided, you have the right and you have the left. You have the two diametrically opposed ideologies. The Hegelian dialectic, a philosopher from the 18th century, basically created this concept known as the Hegelian dialectic, created by a man, and I believe his name was George Hegel. George Hegel. For those that may know him, you can correct me in the comment box. But he created in the late 18th century. He was a philosopher, and he created a concept known as the Hegelian dialectic. Okay, and essentially, Hegelian dialectic is this belief system that everything has its opposite. Everything is consisted of opposition. Life is all about opposition and opposing views. The left, the right, good and the bad, God and Satan. Everything is based on this opposition concept. Life is filled with opposition and conflict. And that there has to be some type of higher power, a higher ideology, if you will, that comes in and brings the two diametrically opposed views together, merging them together to bring the so-called peace. Okay. Is that what this is? I don't know. I have no idea because, as the article says, it has both Texas and California joining forces who are clearly diametrically opposed politically. Who knows? But as the article also mentions, the fact that this zeitgeist of, well, this movie is going to cause some real ruckus, and they're talking about wanting to release this film right during the 2024, close to the 2024 election, during the year of the 2024 election. Why would you want to do something like this? Why would you want to create something like this? It's going to cause chaos. Everyone's thinking it will be chaos, both on the left and the right. Why would you want to release something like this? Predictive programming. The article even talks about it being predictive programming. Some groups talking about it being predictive programming. But it goes on to say the Joker was released in 2019. Everybody thought it was going to do the same thing. It was going to cause people to go crazy and start killing. None of that happened. But it did boost a box office for the Joker, right? Here's my deal on it. At the end of the day, regardless of whether or not this film is predictive programming or what, I don't know at this point. Because this is an indie film. If it was made by Hollywood, it'd be different because I don't trust anything Hollywood does. The big majors, yeah, they're all into all kinds of satanic stuff. And they've been doing predictive programming films for decades, okay? But this is a relatively low budget indie film being produced. And I'm not saying that independent filmmakers don't have that kind of worldview, but it's kind of skeptical, right? At the end of the day, it all comes down to entertainment. Because what's interesting to me about this film is I myself, being a creator, had the same idea. Only I wanted to put it in book form. Probably too late now. I actually literally thought about writing a full-length book based on another American Civil War. It would be fiction, obviously, but it would be based on the same concept, and I would mix things up. It would be ambiguous as to what political ideology it would represent. Because at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, it won't matter if you're on the left or the right. When the government takes over, they take over. Okay, it won't even matter at that point. It really won't. But I'm not going to go into the details of that. People can think what they want to think, but there's a bigger plan taking place. And even though I am a conservative in terms of my worldviews, I see a bigger picture. I read abroad. That's why you guys see all of these books and so forth. I don't just put those books up there just to, look nice. I'm throwing some stuff out to my viewers at, hey, if you don't have these books, my suggestion is you to check some of these books out, because a lot of these books that I purchase and place up above me, right behind me rather, not above me, but right behind me, are very revealing. And they document their sources, and they have opened my eyes to a lot of things that are going on in this country and in the world. Okay. So yeah. At the end of the day, going back to the movie, at the end of the day, it's all about entertainment. At the end of the day, it's all about, making money. What we're going to have to do is see what happens. Now, in my personal opinion, if there is a civil war during the 2024 election cycle, when we start the vote and so forth, if there's a civil war, or if there's any kind of fighting or assaults taking place, I don't think this movie will be influencing that. Because that's what the fear is. The fear is that this movie will influence that ideology, that world, that intensity, that emotional intensity, that emotional contagion. That's the fear on both the left and the right. But me personally, I don't think that's going to be the issue. I think that it's simply the writers and the directors and the writers and the directors and producers capitalizing off of this idea. What better film to make than to make a movie about a possible civil war? Like I said, they beat me to it. Okay. I wasn't going to make a movie about it, but I certainly was going to write a book about it. Maybe I still might. I don't know. Might not be called Civil War. Might be called something else. Because if you look in the history of films, particularly horror movies, but I'm not going to deal with the horror movies in particular. But if you look at the way movies are made throughout the years, throughout the decades, films tend to reflect the zeitgeist of that decade. Okay, films from the 70s reflected the zeitgeist and the flavor and emotional mentality of those in the 70s. Same in the 60s, same in the 80s, same in the 90s. Films tended to reflect that spirit, that zeitgeist. Okay, and all this film may be doing is reflecting the zeitgeist of the year, the spirit of the year, this idea of a possible civil war. Or I wouldn't say spirit of the year, but spirit of the last few years, actually. Because people are talking about a possible civil war. I've had my pastor ask me, do you think there's going to be a civil war? I say, yes, there will be. There will be another civil war. It's not a matter of if there will be. It's a matter of when. Will it take place during the 2024 cycle? I don't think so. I think the filmmakers are just capitalizing off that zeitgeist, like most filmmakers have done. So we're going to have to actually see the movie and actually see what's going to happen. Then we can do a comment. Then I'll do a commentary, as others will, on this very subject. So how about that? At the end of the day, it's all about money when it comes to films and songs. But at the end of the day, it's all about money and making that dollar bill. Okay. I personally, as I said in this video, I personally don't believe that this is some kind of conspiracy theory that the filmmakers are trying to. This is an indie film, and I think they're just capitalizing off of the zeitgeist of the last few years. That's all I think they're doing. I could be wrong, but we'll find out. Okay. So that's what I think about that. What do you guys think about this? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless you all. See you again.